Hey, what is going on, Twintendo Nation? Hope you're having an awesome day. Now, if you're a long-time viewer of the channel, you're probably wondering a few things about this video. Firstly, has a new Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game been announced? Unfortunately, the answer is no. I wish there was, but that's kind of one of the reasons I am making this video. Well, one of the two reasons. Firstly, I love Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, as you guys know. If you've been following me since 2015, that's how I made my name. I covered Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon when that game was coming out, and I made, I want to say, like 100 videos on that game, which is crazy. Just before the game came out, like loads of pre-release stuff, loads of speculation, and yeah, that's how I kind of started out on YouTube. The second reason, obviously, we've not had a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game since then, back in 2015, and we've had a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game for every single generation since Generation 3 when it was introduced. So it would make sense that since we're going to Generation 8 soon, we're due a Mystery Dungeon game for Generation 7. So I expect one sometime this year. So we don't know whether we're going to get a Generation 7 Mystery Dungeon game this year. However, I'd still like to go over my top 5 hopes for a brand new Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game. What I'd like to see, maybe stuff I wanted for Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon when I was covering that game, and that was never really introduced or maybe not executed as well as I would like. And also, if you're a long-time viewer, you're probably not used to me doing a recorded intro. I'm kind of trying to mix things up. I'm also trying to give a bit of a human touch to my YouTube channel. Some people think like there's a lot of PokeTubers who just use like their avatars and stuff, and I don't really want to fall under that bracket. The only reason I've never really done recorded intros is because my room is super small, and this is like the best recording space that I'm using. Never tried it before, and you can see I got like a really bland, boring wall behind me. I'm hoping to change that. I want to get some posters commissioned, some brand new Pokemon art of something. I just don't know what. So if you have any suggestions, maybe some Pokemon Mystery Dungeon stuff, some, main series Pokemon poster ideas, let me know in the comments below. I'm going to try and contact some artists, get them made up, and if you guys like them, hopefully you'll be able to purchase them for yourselves as well. Now, before we start today's video, guys, question of the day to you: what would you like to see in a new Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game? It could be something I mentioned in this video, or it could be something I've completely left out altogether. I probably could have made this a top 10 video. There were a lot of hopes that I did leave out in the end, so maybe you guys will think the same as me, and maybe mention them in the comments. And as always, guys, I know this is kind of standard YouTube stuff, but if you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to stay up to date with everything Pokemon. And with all that out of the way, guys, let's start the video. Starting off our list is the most ambitious hope of the lot. This is a multiplayer mode. Now, I'm not suggesting that the main story should be multiplayer. I don't think that would work, and it would ruin the experience, but it would be nice to be able to complete missions with friends, whether that be locally or over the internet. Now, you're probably wondering how multiplayer would work in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. The way I imagine it is that there are two teams, you versus a player you have connected with. Both teams will be going through the same dungeon at the same time, but they cannot encounter each other in the dungeon. Essentially, it's a race to the finish, and to make it fair, all the dungeon floors will be identical for each player. So it's all about thinking tactically by bringing the right Pokemon and items along. As much fun as it would be to play against an opponent in the same room, it isn't possible unless there is a drastic change in gameplay, as Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is a turn-based game. So for example, when you make an action like move around a dungeon, attack, or use an item, time passes and enemy Pokemon make their action by either moving or attacking you. So if there were two different teams moving in the same dungeon, the only way it would work would be turn-based, which will make for very slow gameplay. Now, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Gates to Infinity actually tried this with its ambitious companion mode. In this mode, you and up to 3 other friends could go into specific dungeons and complete missions. Now, since you had to wait for everyone to make a move and the dungeon was just one big floor, it didn't really live up to the hype. Still, as ambitious as multiplayer would be, I could definitely see the race to the finish or competing against your friend type of multiplayer working, as each player's dungeon time is unaffected by the other player. But those are just my thoughts on how multiplayer could work in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Let me know if you'd like to see multiplayer in any upcoming Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game. Now, next up is the most simple hope on this list, and although it's not massively important, it's something a lot of fans would like to see. This is customizable outfits for your Pokemon. Ever since the first Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, Blue and Red Rescue Team, artwork has shown that you and your partner Pokemon wear bandanas, with later game artwork showing bow ties, ribbons, and even bags. Now, the last Mystery Dungeon game, Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon, even showed you wearing scarves during gameplay, which was a really nice touch. Now, although that was a great addition, your Pokemon could only wear one thing, which was a green and blue bandana. Even though it looked amazing in game, it would have been nice to have a bit more variety, although having said that, the bandana itself was very important to the game's story. Now, I think it would be nice if the next Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game, you can interchange between different customization options, such as wearing either a bandana, a bow tie, bag, and maybe even hats. You could get these customization items by completing certain missions or even buying them at shops. As we've seen with the last few Pokemon main series games like Pokemon X and Y and Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon, being able to customize your own character is one of the fans' favourite new features, and I don't see why it should just stop with the main series Pokemon games. So I believe it would make a great addition to the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon franchise, and I hope to see it in the next Mystery Dungeon game. Coming in at number 3 is something I'd like to see return for the next potential Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game. This is recruiting random Pokemon in dungeons. So in 2015's Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon, Pokemon were unable to be recruited from dungeons for the first time in the game's series. Instead, Pokemon were added to the team through the brand new Connection Orb, which really divided the Mystery Dungeon community. Now, both had their pros and cons, with the Connection Orb allowing you to recruit all 720 Pokemon in the game. However, you were unable to nickname these Pokemon, as well as select them for every single mission. Whereas on the other hand, random recruits were difficult to obtain, as there was only a slim chance they would join your team, although you were able to nickname these Pokemon as well as bring them along to any mission. So for the next Mystery Dungeon game, I'd like to see something that combines a bit of both, as I thought the Connection Orb was a great addition to the game since Pokemon were so easy to access, but at the same time it would be nice to have Pokemon you have recruited on your own that you can nickname to your heart's content. So when setting off out on a mission, there should be 2 lists of Pokemon you can choose from, those which joined you through the Connection Orb and those which were randomly recruited. Or I guess the easiest way to fix this problem would be having the option to nickname Pokemon you obtain through the Connection Orb. However, I still think having both options of recruiting would be the best way to go. This would be similar to how in Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon you have the options of completing the personality quiz at the start to get your starter, or if you don't like your personality quiz result, you can just pick any starter you want. Now, if there is another Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game, it would definitely be interesting to see how they will go about recruiting Pokemon. Let me know in the comments which one you would prefer, Connection Orb, random recruits, or a bit of both. Following on from random recruits is a brand new feature I'd like to see introduced for the next Mystery Dungeon game. This is creating your own dungeons and missions. Now, since Blue Rescue Team, it's been possible for friends to connect wirelessly to enter a dungeon your team has fainted in to help rescue you. However, I think it would be much more fun to create your own dungeon with its own look, hand select Pokemon, and choose a reward to give out to other players who beat your dungeon. Now, these dungeons would help extend the game's playtime, as there would be many new dungeons uploaded every day. Since Pokemon Mystery Dungeon works off randomly generated floors, I feel like the designer should either have a choice of letting the game randomize the floors for them, or designing their own floors, putting certain traps and items down, but letting the game randomize the order of these designed floors when the player enters. To give players an incentive to play player-made dungeons, there should be exclusive rewards such as customization items like I mentioned earlier, lots of money, gold bars, as well as a lot of rescue points. Additionally, for added incentive, there could be a worldwide leaderboard that ranks players for how many of these user-created dungeons they have cleared, or how many rescue points they have obtained from completing these missions, with stronger dungeons and dungeons with more floors giving out more rescue points. Let me know in the comments what you think of this idea, and if it was added in the next Mystery Dungeon game, would you actually use it? Love to hear what you guys think. So after a lot of thought and deliberation, I decided on my top hope for a new Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game. This is to visit old towns and dungeons from previous Mystery Dungeon entries. The reason I decided to have this as my number 1 hope is partly because of the last Mystery Dungeon game, Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon. In Super Mystery Dungeon, you could travel to all the old Mystery Dungeon regions, with each region having a new town to visit. Now, whilst this was an amazing inclusion, it only scratched the surface of what could have been included, and made me want to see a reimagining of Pokemon Square from Blue and Red Rescue Team, and Treasure Town from Explorers of Time, Darkness and Sky even more. I remember watching one of the first trailers for Super Mystery Dungeon and freaking out when I saw Blue Rescue Team's region on the world map and thinking we'd be able to go to Pokemon Square and all the other old dungeons again.
In fact, I'm pretty sure I made a video on it as soon as I could, and my YouTube channel finally started to get noticed because of it. So this is a very important and almost nostalgic feature for me, as I wanted this feature to happen for Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon. Now in terms of old dungeons, there weren't any in Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon that I can remember, but the closest we did get was the Sand Dune of Spirits dungeon in the Sand Continent, which is a complete remake of the dungeon Great Canyon from Mystery Dungeon Blue and Red Rescue Team. It has the same music, look, and Xatu is waiting at the end like it was in Blue and Red Rescue Team. However, we know this is actually not Great Canyon because it's located on the Sand Continent, which was a brand new region for Super Mystery Dungeon, and not the Air Continent, which is the region from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue and Red Rescue Team. So it would definitely be nice to complete some new missions in old dungeons, as well as visiting old towns to see how time has changed them, as Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon made it very aware that time has moved on since the first games, with little Easter eggs and throwbacks along the way. It would be great to see some old characters and some old places like the Wigglytuff's Guild and everybody inside it, and see if there's any mention of these Pokemon that may have saved the world back from Explorers of Time, Darkness and Sky and Blue and Red Rescue Team when visiting those areas. So if you guys could go back to any old dungeon or any town from the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series, which one would it be and why? Now even though I'm playing Blue and Red Rescue Team at the moment, I think I would have to choose Treasure Town just because I absolutely love Explorers of Time, Darkness and Sky, and the music for Treasure Town is one of my favourites in gaming history, so I'd love to hear that reimagined. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'd love to hear your suggestions because there are so many good choices to pick.
So those are my top 5 hopes for a brand new Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game. As I said, I have no idea whether we'll get a Generation 7 Mystery Dungeon game or not. Super Mystery Dungeon kind of felt like a good place to leave it for a while, but I really hope I'm wrong. So if there is a new Mystery Dungeon game, this is what I want included. But anyway guys, if you did enjoy the video, make sure to give it a like, it's super appreciated. And if you want to stay up to date with everything Pokemon, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching. Hope you have an awesome day and I will see you on the next video. Peace!